could we be given warning at the beginning of a programme if there's going to be anything about the Beatles, as all Beatle fans can make sure to listen, and have a chance to ring up other fans to make sure they are also listening.
Hi everybody, this is John here. This is Paul, George,
and Ringo.
And we're very happy to be on your program once again.
Hello everyone, this is Steve Marinucci, your Beatles news guy, with a very special program on our Beatles News Briefs podcast. This is a tribute to Joey Molland, who died Saturday after an extended illness. We have 3 interviews to present for you. The first 2 are with Keith Putney and Ellen Guerlio of Keith Putney Productions. Then we have a wonderful interview we did with Joey in 2017. You'll want to hear all of these interviews. We'll have more to say about Joey's interview a little later, but first here's Keith Putney of Keith Putney Productions. Keith was promoter for many of Joey's shows. I wanted to talk to my longtime friend Keith Putney, who has worked with Joey Molland, and I wanted to get some stories from you about what it was like to work with him. You've promoted concerts with Joey, correct?
Yeah, I've worked with Joey for about 20 years, and we've done all sorts of different shows together. We've done some concept shows. We've done some Abbey Road album shows with Denny Lane, and I think with Terry Sylvester. We did a series of shows doing the complete Straight Up album,
and that must have been wonderful to do that. But
yeah, well, of course. I mean, it's such a staggering album, and to have it presented live for the first time, and it was interesting because, of course, for anybody who's heard Badfinger, as they existed back in the day, Badfinger was very different live than on record. They used to do, Feeling All Right and a lot of different things that they were very much more a rock band than, the quote unquote power pop,
right.
That they landed in the middle of. And Joe, so when Joey performed live, he always wanted to have something that was more muscular, something that reflected what Badfinger was as a live group. That was a tradition he carried through in his live performances, and he always wanted to have that raw energy there when he performed. But I mean, the thing I think of when I think of him is, and you can see it in and everyone has seen it in videos, photographs, or when they've seen him live, the joy that he had in performing.
Right.
He always enjoyed being on stage. He enjoyed playing music. He enjoyed the camaraderie of working with a great band. And it's something that showed in every performance he gave. And I think that's one of the reasons why he was such a joy to see, was you could see that he shared with the audience that joy in music and the experience of live music. It's something that is just part and parcel, I think, of who he was. So.
And there were so many of the tributes from the fans today were about how nice he was, how what a great guy he was to talk to, that he really enjoyed interacting with the fans.
Well, Joey, he enjoyed what he was doing, and I think that I always felt that he had a certain gratitude for the fact that he was successful, and it's interesting, and now it's hard to argue when people say that Badfinger was a tragic story, and at the same time, I'm not sure that Joey saw it that way. He saw. He appreciated, he remembered, and I think this is, if this is something that not everyone would think. I think it's a healthy perspective for somebody who came from that band, that he didn't think of Badfinger as a tragic story. He thought of them as a success story, as four guys, a group of guys, obviously, because there were changes in terms of members of the band, but,
Right.
guys that came from Wales and he from Liverpool, who ended up being discovered by the Beatles Apple Records, by Mal Evans, and came into the Beatles orbit and had Paul McCartney write a song for them, and had George Harrison produce records for them, and members of the band got to perform on the Concert for Bangladesh and on John
Right.
Lennon's Imagine record. And in that sense, he's right. That's a success story. I think if you're a musician and you don't think of that as being successful, I'm not sure what your measuring stick is.
Right.
It certainly is something that any musician, I would think, would treasure and consider to be, being pretty much at the top of the mountain.
Hmm.
So that's the way he looked at it, and I think that was reflected in the way he treated everyone. Uh, People in the business that he worked with, and the fans.
Yes, yeah, I mean, and that's really been evident with the stories that have been coming out today. Um, you know, I mean, everything there's been so many positive comments about Joey, and you don't always find that. Um, and it's nice that that's been the case. That's really, really nice. So,
Yeah, I mean, Joey too. I think it's funny. You just before we started this interview, you were mentioning that Joey had been talking about Todd Rundgren, but it's interesting. I'm not sure how many years ago it was. Might have been 5 years ago, something like that. Todd was being interviewed on the Beatles channel, and he referred to Pete Ham and Joey Molland as the Lennon and McCartney of Badfinger,
mm,
uh, which I thought was certainly uh, a tremendous, tremendous compliment. And I also think it was an acknowledgement of something that, we tend to think of the writers in Badfinger, we tend to think of Pete Ham. Because the songs that were the hits were, generally speaking, Pete Ham songs, but things like Sweet Tuesday Morning and Suitcase and so many things that Joey contributed, speak to the fact that he was a tremendous songwriter in his own right. And so that was a particular thrill when he was performing live, that you got to see the author of these songs, present them in a live setting, and that was something that I certainly appreciated.
well, Keith, thank you very much for talking about Joey. I that was those it was great. And um, I don't know what to say, but to thank
Yeah. Oh, well, I should mention I was speaking with Peter Asher earlier today, and of course, Peter was the A&R director for
right,
uh, Apple Records at the time that Badfinger was signed, and he was lamenting the fact that that classic lineup of Badfinger now have all left us,
right.
uh, and it's a tremendous musical legacy, but it's certainly sad to see the last remaining member of that classic lineup leave us.
And
So
as some people have pointed out within the past, couple of weeks, we've lost the last member of the band. We lost the last member of the New York Dolls, I think yesterday,
yeah,
also, and now Joey. And boy, um,
yeah,
on one on top of the other.
it's a tough week. I mean, David Johansen was a tremendous, monstrous talent,
Hmm.
an incredible front man, and similarly to Joey, brought a great joy in live performance, and he certainly will be sorely missed as well.
Right, right. Well, Keith Putney of Keith Putney Productions, I thank you immensely for talking about Joey Molland, and um, we'll have to get Mr. Asher on here one of these days and talk to him again. It's been a while. So
Well, you're welcome, Steve, and yeah, please take care. But it's a sad day today.
next, here's Ellen Guerlio of Keith Putney Productions. She's event manager, and she worked with Joey at the shows that Keith Putney Productions put on. So here's Ellen. Hello, everyone, and I'm with Ellen Guerlio of event manager from Keith Putney Productions. Hello, Ellen.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I thought since you had worked with Joey Molland, I'd like some, any insights into what it was like working with him and your memories of, of shows with him.
And he was a pretty easygoing guy. Lots of good humor and liked to, joke around. He was just really enjoyable to be around. I first actually met him when I just had started working for Keith Putney Productions, and it was at one of the Fest for Beatle fans down it was in LA, and I was there mostly helping sell, merch for Peter Asher and Denny Lane. And Joey was on that show and just did, some of the Badfinger hits. And it really invigorated me so much on the Badfinger music. I hadn't heard it in a long time,
Hmm.
and I was just so excited. And I went and talked with Joey, and I told him, "Hey, I saw Badfinger open for Rod Stewart in Boston." And he said, "Yeah, that tour, I thought they were on the whole tour." And he said, "No, we were only on about 6 shows of that tour." I said, "Wow, well, that was really lucky." That was the only time I got to see Badfinger. So I know that Keith Putney had done some work with Joey before that time,
Hmm.
but I suggested, "Hey, people really love this stuff. Let's get some more stuff going for him." So he did, and uh, it was just such a thrill to get a chance to work with Joey. Seeing him, I went out, went and got Badfinger's Greatest Hits CD,
Hmm.
and it was a pretty extensive collection. And I hadn't heard some of the songs before. And there was this one called "I'll Be the One." It was very Beatles sounding. Like
Hmm.
you could totally hear Beatle influence. I mean, more than any of their other stuff, I thought.
Right.
And I asked him about that, and he co-wrote it. He said I kind of was influenced by 8 Days a Week, and it was a little bit different melody, but the rhythm of it was very similar to 8 Days a Week,
Hmm.
and great song. So that was one story I got from him that I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. But as I was, seeing a lot of Joey's shows, we did a couple of tours with him in 2017 and 2018. They were mostly on the East Coast, played places like City Winery in New York and Infinity Hall in Hartford. And Joey was sounding really great. As I got more and more familiar with the songs, some that I didn't know, we were actually mostly doing the entire Straight Up album, or the band was, not me.
Right.
And I wasn't aware of how much Joey had written. In terms of the big hits, a lot of them were Pete Ham and Tommy Evans, but Joey had some amazing songs, and he was a real rocker. Like his songs like "Suitcase" and "I Die, Babe," and there's some real strong, guitar riffs and solos in there. And Joey's a pretty strong guitar player. I was really impressed with his guitar skills.
Hmm.
And of course, he had also the slower one, Sweet Tuesday Morning. So I think a lot of people don't realize he was a really good songwriter.
Hmm.
He was some really great stuff. And
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody, I think, um, Pete Ham gets the um, is probably the name that's mentioned most often with songwriting for Badfinger, but yeah,
Hmm.
Joey did his share, and he did, he was good. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it increased even more after Pete's unfortunate death. And Joey, I think, started writing more after that. But he was just very, loved doing the songs, very enjoyable, happy. Um, he just loved doing the music and putting it out there. And
when when was the last time you saw him?
well, ironically, it was a couple of years ago at another Beatle Fest, and he was just really jamming away. And his guitar stuff was just so great. I was so impressed.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I got a chance to chat with him a bit then and everything. But yeah, that was the last time I saw him. And I'm so sad that he's gone.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, yeah. It's a great loss for all of us. For those who love the music and just him. The responses and the tributes that have been coming in today from everybody are just absolutely amazing. I mean, you get people like, Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees,
Mhm.
commenting because they did I guess they did the White Album tour
Right.
together.
Yes, they did. They
Um,
got friendly. Matter of fact, I know Joey told me when Mickey was doing a solo tour after that, and he was coming through Minnesota. Joey lived in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area,
right.
and Mickey was coming through there, and Mickey had said to him, "Yeah, let me know, if you want to come to the show." And so he called Mickey and went to the show, and he was, just thrilled to see Mickey's show. I mean, they admired each other
Mm,
a great deal. I'm just so glad he got to do these things. He he got to do that tour, and then last summer he was on the Happy Together tour, and so I was really glad to see him get these tours. People approached him to join these tours, and I thought that was great. He on the White Album tour, Todd Rundgren was on that, and he always thought Todd Rundgren was kind of cranky. Todd produced most of the Straight Up album, and
hmm.
um, George Harrison had started producing it and then went off to do some other stuff, and Todd Rundgren finished producing the album and did the bulk of it. And I remember him saying, yeah, he was kind of Todd was kind of like cranky or whatever, but Todd said some wonderful things about him when he toured. He was saying that Joey and Pete Ham were the Lennon McCartney of Badfinger,
Hmm.
and I thought, wow, that's pretty high praise.
Alan, thank you for talking about Joey.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Um,
I'll miss him. And I think we all will.
we posted a bunch of tributes to Joey on our Beatles News and Information page on Facebook, and here's a few of them. May Pang wrote, "Can't tell you how extremely sad I am with this news of Joey Molland. I've known him and the Badfinger Band since 1970. Rest in peace, Joey." And the next, turn the page here, we have Eva Steffens von Skyok, and she told an interesting story. She said Joey Molland was a member of the band Badfinger. Gary was invited by Mark Hudson to play in a band called The Boys Who Knew the Lads. They performed at the International Beatles Week in Liverpool in 2015. The premise of this band was that each member had played with and recorded with a Beatle. The members were Joey, Gary, Mark, Earl Slick, and Denny Sywell. The memory of a private, quote, magical mystery tour of, unquote, of Liverpool and listening to the excitement and wonderful stories that Joey shared about his hometown were heartwarming. We toured John Lennon's home, and I will never forget Mark and Joey singing in the front foyer. To top it off, Joey slid down the banister, and you could see the cheeky little boy inside him. My heart breaks for Mary, Will, Peggy, and Joey's family. Our sincere condolences and hoping that loving memories will comfort you all. The Cavern in Liverpool posted this. Here at the Cavern and International Beatle Week, he will be remembered as a friend and one of the nicest down-to-earth people that you could ever wish to meet. We are all heartbroken. Our sincere and heartfelt condolences and love to Mary and the family. Former Wings guitarist Lawrence Juber posted this. R.I.P. Joey Molland, a star in the Beatles-adjacent universe. I have fond memories of sharing the stage with the talented classic Badfinger artist. Former Wings drummer Denny Sywell wrote, "Sad news this morning, my dear friend Joey left the stage. Condolences to his wonderful wife Mary and his boys. He will be missed, and he had a special light about him." And he posted a picture of the last time he performed with Joey, which was 2015 in Liverpool. And he ended, "God, it seems like yesterday. R.I.P. Joey." And from the Ham Estate posted this. Are sorry to hear about the death of Joey Molland. Our condolences to his family at this difficult time. Anne, Batira, and Luca. One more late tribute that we wanted to add to the list that we just gave you. Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees posted a tribute, and he said, "Very sad to hear about the passing of Badfinger's Joey Molland. He was a great musician and good friend." And here's our interview from 2017 with Joey Molland. This was such a joy for me to hear again that I thought I'd share it with you. Joey talks in depth about recording the Straight Up album and working with producers George Harrison and Todd Rundgren, and also working on George's All Things Must Pass and John Lennon's Imagine album. He also talks about playing at the concert for Bangladesh. Here's our interview with Joey Molland. Enjoy. Recorder, so I can get going. How you been? It's been a while since we talked.
Yeah, it has, yeah. I've been okay. I've gotten really busy in the past 6 months or so. I've been doing these straight up shows, and but they're really going down well. You know, we're selling places out all over the place. It's great.
And you're just starting a tour November 3rd, basically of the East Coast, right? That's what she told me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just talk a little bit about the album, and of course with George Harrison involved. How did George Harrison get involved?
Well, we did the album originally with Pete and Tommy producing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we recorded about, 15, 16 songs or something. And we delivered it to Apple, and Apple didn't like it. And for some reason, George decided that he was going to get involved and produce the record. And I guess he took the songs away and did the little work on the arrangements and stuff. And then took us into Abbey Road and started recording.
I'm typing, so if I go silent for a couple seconds, you'll know why.
That's okay.
What was he like to work with as a recorder, as a producer? How was he?
He was really sweet. He was normal George, like a very humble guy, and he'd bring his guitar in and his amp, and pretty much join the band. You know what I mean? Start playing with you and stuff, and. He always asked if it was okay to do that. And then he was just great. How can I describe him? Just really an easy guy to work with. Never bitched about anybody, never, told anybody anything negative about themselves. He was just really great to work with and a great producer. Obviously, the Straight Up album is our most popular album, and although that's down to what George did with like Day After Day, and just did great work for us.
Now you worked with a couple of other people on the album. You worked with Jeff Emerick first, correct?
Well, the funny thing is I don't recall Jeff being involved with the Straight Up album at all.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I know, you know, loads of people have said that to me, but I personally cannot recall him being involved in it.
Okay.
You know, I don't think he was involved in the George sessions. I think that was Phil MacDonald. But I'm really, you know, you know, I always remember when Jeff was there. Jeff was a great engineer, of course, and was heavily involved in the No Dice album. You know, but no, not that I recall. You know.
How about Todd Rundgren, who he took over after George, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, George got involved with the Bangladesh thing, and you know, he came and apologized to us, and he'd asked Todd to get involved and finish up the album for us. And Todd agreed. Todd was really nice enough to agree, and he came over to England. He wasn't very pleasant to work with. He was, the opposite of George. Todd had an enormous ego he brought with him, and he was very bossy and very, insulting in some ways. But again, he did a great job for us. I can't fault his job. The record turned out great. It was just a completely different world than George.
Okay. I have to say, Day After Day is a song that I dearly, dearly love. What's the history of that song? I mean, did you guys, was that a certain thing for the album? Had you guys planned to use that on the album, or was that something that came up late, or how did that?
It was a new song. We didn't do it on the original Straight Up, or Baby Blue for that matter.
That's another song I really, really like too.
Oh, yeah, that's a great number. They both are. They're both great kind of band songs.
Mm-hmm.
You can reproduce Baby Blue on stage with a four-piece band.
Mm-hmm.
Day After Day is a bit of a different idea, but yeah, it's a great number. Great numbers, both of them. Yeah. He wrote them. He wrote. I'm not sure what Day After Day was about, but I think, and I'm pretty sure that Baby Blue was about Dixie, a girl he was going out with, a girl from Tucson, Arizona.
You talking about Pete wrote that?
Yeah, Pete wrote it. Yeah, and I think they'd broken up. I think she'd gone back to America. She came over to England for a while, and I think they broke up. And the next thing you know was Dixie Dear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, that's right, Dixie Dear. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you guys performed? This is not the first time you've done the whole album, correct? But it
is the first time we've done the whole album.
It is the first time. Okay.
Yeah.
What songs haven't you done before?
I Die Babe comes to mind. Sometimes it's only briefly done. We haven't done Perfection since the early days. Since Pete wrote it. And Name of the Game we've never done on stage. Well, I shouldn't say never. I think we tried it a couple of times. But, it was a bit of a difficult tune. Again, the production values on it, on the record, made it difficult to do on stage. Just to try and reproduce it in any kind of sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was difficult to do because of the acoustic overdubs, the massive background voices there. I mean, we did all the parts and everything, but we overdubbed them and then overdubbed them again, and overdubbed them again. And it was it was just too difficult to do on stage, really.
How do you accommodate for that?
Well, we've got doing it now. We've got 3 guys singing harmony with the lead singer. You know, the names of the guys in the band are the keyboard player's a fellow named Alex, the guitar player's a guy named Amin, and the bass player's been a guy named Eric, but we're using a different guy coming out this time. But they're all excellent harmony singers, and it really, really does help that particular song, particularly doing that arrangement, you know, because it's a little bit slower than Pete actually wrote the song, and it really needs filling in with those long lines, and it comes together quite nice on stage. There's beautiful 4-part harmonies in places, and it's just really nice. You know?
I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to hear you because you guys are going to be on the East Coast. But you guys are going to have to come out here and do it. Definitely.
We'd love to do it. We did do we do a show on these? Yeah, we did McCabe's place down in Los Angeles.
Right.
Just a small show. Maybe I think that was our promoter, Keith Putney, trying to do a bit of a promo show for the West Coast. I hope he can come out there and do the tour. It'd be great.
Yeah, it would be. And I have to. Okay, I'm going to have to ask you. You mentioned concert for Bangladesh before. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was a thrill. We were surrounded by major stars, of course, as we usually were when we worked with George. But this was in a live setting. It was completely different than what we'd done in the studio with him. It was great. We spent a week in New York, rehearsed the rhythm beds with a small band with George, Ringo, Klaus Forman, and Badfinger first. And we just ran the rhythm beds, ran the songs over, so we grabbed them all again, you know. He was going to do most of the songs off All Things Must Pass. And so we needed a little few days to get that together. And so, but by the end of that week, we were feeling pretty good about it all. And then the other musicians were coming into town as well. Like Eric came in on the Saturday, Leon showed up, Billy Preston. It was really spectacular. Jim Horn and all the LA horn section. I think even Bobby Keys showed up. And then, of course, Leon brought Don Preston with him, Carl Radle, loads of people. It was great. It was really great.
Yeah, I love listening to that album. That album is so wonderful. How about working with John Lennon on the Imagine album? What was that like?
Oh, it was great with John Lennon. Are you kidding me? We got a phone call one night, or one afternoon really, and only Tommy and I were at the house. Tommy Evans and myself were at the house. Everybody else was out, and they, as it happened, they wanted us to go down. Joe called us, John's driver, and said, John would like you to do him a favor. If you could grab your guitars, we'll send the car round and bring you down here. We're recording tonight, and we need some acoustics and stuff. So again, they asked us to do him a favor of going and playing some guitar. So we went down there, and we're all excited. It's John Lennon, and we got down there. We couldn't find anybody. The house was so big. We were walking around different rooms, found a room full of Dr. Pepper, found the library. We couldn't get in and out. The doors were all library shelves, and so that was kind of weird. But eventually we found our way to the back of the house, and that's where the studio was. It was just off the kitchen. And there was George and Phil Spector. Jim Kellner was there to play drums that night, and Klaus Forman again, and Nicky Hopkins there playing the piano. We knew Klaus and Nicky, of course. Never met Jim Keltner, but he was a very, very nice bloke. Fantastic drummer, of course. And then around 9:30, 10 o'clock, John and Yoko came in, and really nice. They were really sweet, both of them. John was a bit brusque, the way he talked and everything. He didn't mind. He didn't mind saying a swear word now and again. But he was pretty straightforward with us. Yoko was really sweet, running and getting cokes and cigarette. She actually asked us, did we want her to drive out and get some cigarettes for us? But of course we were okay. But she was really sweet anyway. And the whole experience was great. John started off with Jealous Guy. Just played it to us 2 or 3 times, and we kind of grabbed the chords. Everybody kind of, grabbed the chords and fooled around with it a bit. And we played it maybe 2 or 3 times, and then we recorded it 2 or 3 times. And it was all together. It was really easy, nice little beautiful song, and John singing in the headphones, and these are all the things that I remember, just enthralled, and just great. And then we did I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. And John told us we didn't need to stay. He didn't really think it would work for acoustics, but it really did work when we played along with him. Made for this lovely, nice kind of fat, Bo Diddley sound, So, which is what the song always reminded me of anyway. But it sounded really good. Anyway, and that was the song that they gave us credit for. Actually, not for Jealous Guy.
You didn't get credit for Jealous Guy?
No, I don't think so. I think they just credited us for that. But I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. Yeah.
How about contrast that with All Things Must Pass, because you worked on that too?
Well, of course, yeah, we were a lot more involved in All Things Must Pass. We played on most of it, if not all of the record. I don't know whether he used us on all the tracks, but we certainly played along on all of them. It was just a bit of a deeper experience, but the same kind of thing, really. The great songwriter, the great artist, and just a pleasure to be there and be surrounded by all. Eric was there every day playing guitar. Ringo was there. Alan White was there. Billy Preston was there. Klaus Voormann, Phil Spector. The whole cast of characters. And then different people came in. I remember Eric was forming Derek and the Dominoes right then. And so they all came in and hung out. It was just a daily experience. Loads of Indian food, and we saw Mal a lot at those sessions as well. And that was great to, he was always a lovely guy to hang with. It was really easy. It was, for us it was easy. We knew the style. We knew the, after George would teach us the songs, of course, and so it was very comfortable. We just kind of played along and just played our parts. George had some rules that he liked to apply, and that was, there was nobody like drinking in the studio except Spector. But George didn't say that, but it was kind of like unwritten. He didn't want you showing up drunk or nothing. And there weren't all sorts of drugs going on or nothing like that. It was just a very easy album to work on, and that comes, I think, from George. He was so comfortable in what he was doing that he made you feel comfortable,
You've mentioned Billy Preston a couple of times, and people don't generally talk about him. How was he to work with?
Billy's like the sunshine coming in, isn't he? Mm-hmm. He's a great musician and a fantastic singer, of course. But when you're doing a session like that, he just plays his parts. He doesn't get in your way. Doesn't get in anybody's way. And he had this habit of he played with his shoulders over, and with his head down. when he played.
Mm-hmm.
But he would look up during the song and beam that smile out, you know. And I swear to God, it's a beautiful thing. Billy Preston's smile was a beautiful thing. I got to be quite friendly with him. I saw him along the road for many years after that. Of course, passed away now, but yeah, he was an extraordinary musician all his life. He was like that. You know, he was in what was it, The Birth of the Blues? He played W.C. Handy as a boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was a kid in the movie. I mean, that's how far back he went, you know.
There's footage, and I can't remember exactly, but it's him and Ray Charles. Him is like 14 or something with Ray Charles, or
yeah, exactly, yeah, that's right.
I mean, yeah, he started out very young. He was amazing. I got to meet him at one of the Beatle Fests, and I was really glad about that. I really liked him a lot. You're going to be telling some stories in the show. What kind of stories are the people?
Stories about you know, how the album came to be, how the you know, what certain songs are about, what it was like doing the songs, just general stories, and I do those things off the top of my head to try and keep it a bit fresh, you know.
Right.
So, but I tell those stories, how George was to work with, how you know, Todd was, you know, the studio, Abbey Road, things like that. You know, keep it interesting.
You're working on a new album. Any information on it that you want to divulge?
We've already, Mark Hudson is going to produce it. And we've already done a couple of songs. We did them in a studio in New York just to see how it felt. Felt great. The songs turned out really good. And it's been a while, but we're going to be finishing her up. I've given him, I think, about 40 songs. And he's been working, of course, doing his stuff. He's always working with Steve Tyler or somebody like that. So it's difficult to get a look in with him, but I'm really excited about it. He's so talented, and you know, he's brilliant in the studio. I've never seen anything like him really in the studio. His creativity is second to none. So
had you worked with him?
Excited about it. What?
Had you worked with him before?
No, I've done shows with him.
Right, because he's done Beatle Fest, yeah. Yeah,
I've done some Beatle Fest with him, and I've done a couple of things in England with him, and done, you know, just done shows with him, really. We've done a couple of package shows together.
But nothing like this?
Nothing like this, no. We've never done any recording together. But I was really made up, really happy, you know. It sounded great to me, you know. He's fantastic in the studio. You got to see him. If we're making a record in New York, you got to come to the session.
I wish I was in New York. I would definitely come.
Yeah, well,
I'm in California, so that's not gonna. It'd be unlikely, but
well,
if
he has a studio in L.A. as well.
Oh, and, does he?
Yeah, we may well come out there and do it. It doesn't seem to make much difference where he's at. You know, he can get the sounds. He knows what he wants. He's really, really good in the studio. He's brilliant. Yeah, it's great.
Well, I tell you what. Let me know if you guys do come to LA,
yes.
and I may try and come down. I don't do much traveling anymore. It's just too hard. But
yeah.
But I might. If that happened, if you guys do that, I might just come down for that. Let me ask you one more question. What's your favorite Badfinger cover? Your favorite version of somebody else doing a Badfinger song?
Oh, I see what you mean. My favorite thing. I don't know. Maybe like the Plimsolls doing one of my songs. They did Suitcase, but I suppose really it would have to be the Nielsen version of Without You. You know, it's extraordinary. You know, it really showed us what could have been done with that song, you know what I mean? We just never looked at it like that, you know.
Did he ever discuss doing more of your songs, or was that the only one he picked out?
He never discussed it with us. I don't know whether he did with anybody else. But he took us in the studio and played us the final mix.
Oh, did he?
Before it came out, yeah. It just so happened, it was purely coincidence that we were recording, I think, the album after Straight Up with Chris Thomas producing, and in walked Harry Nilsson, and he introduced himself, and he asked us to come and listen to a mix. They'd been mixing the album, he said, and his ears were tired. He wasn't quite sure if it was still sounding really what he wanted. And so he asked us to come down there and give us him an opinion on it, you know. So he took us down there, and he was pulling our leg. He just mixed without you. And he took us in the studio and just played it for us, just blasted it for us, and really blew us away. Honestly, he was another lovely man. I can't tell you anything really bad about that guy either. But it was extraordinary to hear that version of that song. We'd recorded it as a little kind of blues ballad, you know what I mean? He just did the number on it, and so, of course, Pete and Tom he won Pete and Tommy an award for that song, the Ivor Novello Award in England, which is, the top of the line. It's like the Irving Berlin Award, something like that.
It didn't win a Grammy, or did it get nominated?
I think it got nominated. I'm not sure if he got a Grammy for it or not. But
I'll have to look it up. But anyway, that's a great story. That he just took you in there and did that. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, we eventually just you reminded me. We eventually got our Grammy Awards for Bangladesh. We were awarded a Grammy for the Bangladesh concert.
Right.
And we never got the awards at the time. Even Ringo came out at the Grammy Awards that night and said, Leon Russell, Badfinger, and all that, the Grammy Awards, and he collected them all. But we never got ours, and it was through the hard work of... Have you ever heard of Jose Neves?
No.
Jose Neves, yeah, he's a Puerto Rican guy. He's a lovely man, and it was through his efforts and his work that we ended up getting that award.
Is that Nieves?
Yeah, Nieves, yeah.
Okay, and it was through his.
We're trying to do something as well. Keep people aware of those tragedies that have happened this summer, this fall. All those hurricanes and everything.
Right.
And they've disappeared off the news now. But those people are still suffering out there, and they still need help. They need a lot of help. And
what are you gonna be doing?
Well, we're just doing really through our website. We're just trying to keep reminding people that they can use that $5 or that $10 down there. And we've got a couple of 2 or 3 charities that were suggested to us by Jose, as it happens, who are actually active down there and actually help the workers, help the people, get them the support they need and stuff like that. So we're trying to do something like that, and just doing what we can,
I'll definitely mention that. If I have any questions about that, I will ask Ellen to get me the make sure I have all the details, because I'll definitely plug that in the story. Yeah, when did you get the Grammy Awards, by the way? You said you eventually got them.
It was maybe in 2003 or something like that.
Okay.
It was a long time afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely mention I'll definitely mention the Puerto Rican thing. That's a great thing to mention, Joey. Thank you very much for taking the time, and good luck with the tour.
Hey, thank you very much yourself, and I look forward to seeing you.
Okay, and when the album comes out, when the album is closer to coming out, let me know, and I will definitely write it up, and we can talk again. Okay.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Joe. You take care.
You too, man. Good luck.
All right. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's all for this edition. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever you find it. And you can comment on our shows by writing beatlesnewsbriefs@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and this is Steve Marinucci saying,
Be seeing you.
Keep that one. Mark it fab.